Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
The On-Course podcast is an IVM production, and if you enjoyed the show, you should check out the Pragati podcast. If you need a break from the madness of primetime television, join hosts Pavan and Hamsini for some real conversations about politics and economics.
You're listening to the On-Course podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome to the On-Course podcast. On-Course is a creative and alternate education company that aims to bridge the gap between formal classroom education and real-world skills. We offer a range of programs from short skill-based courses to test prep to application assistance for those looking to study abroad. My name is Akhil Daswani and I'm the COO and co-founder of On-Course. And today on the show we have with us Radhika Kumar, an alumnus of Brown University, to chat with us on our alumni series about her experiences at Brown. Hi Radhika.
Hi Akhil, great to be here.
How's it going?
Good, great.
Good. All right. So, Brown is one of those elusive, Ivy League universities, but it has such a personality of its own, right? So I guess my question would first start with, how did you decide to go to Brown and, what did you really do to actually get in?
Right. I think the one thing that really attracted me to Brown University was the open curriculum. And I think there's a lot of, mystery surrounding the open curriculum. So I just want to take a minute and explain to everybody what exactly it is. So basically, in the US, in most colleges, even though the liberal arts curriculum does give you the freedom to study whatever you want, you do have to do a certain set of core requirements. So you do have to take some math classes, some English classes, a couple of humanities courses, a couple of science courses. At Brown University, they sort of radically challenge that idea. And what they do is that they give each and every student the complete freedom to craft their own education. So you go into Brown University, you decide what you want to major in. So there are requirements that you have to do to complete that major. But outside of your, specialization, you pretty much have the freedom to study whatever you want. And I think, as a high school student in the CBSE curriculum, and we were sort of, told to choose what we want to study after the 10th grade, that kind of freedom was very, very attractive. And it was just unthinkable and unheard of when I was in the 11th and 12th grade. So I think Brown's open curriculum is sort of what really hooked me and made me apply to Brown University in the first place. I do think that, the particular Brown candidate or the typical Brown candidate is not only academically smart, but also, that's a given. You have to get your grades, your SAT, that has to be in place.
So when you applied, you obviously had all of that in place.
Right, exactly. So, straight A student, top of your class, good SAT scores. But other than that, you also have to demonstrate a certain curiosity. I think Brown really values independent thinkers, and that sort of can come across either in your essay or the kind of extracurriculars you do. And I think when I was applying, or at least when I went to Brown, everybody, each and every one of my classmates had a particular, one activity that they were really passionate about. So for me, it was sort of theater and education. And that's what I did through much of my high school. And I think that's what sort of, made me that typical Brown candidate. But yeah, having said that, I think Brown really does value diversity. So even though I was more of a theater, education, humanities sort of student, a lot of people were, interested in robotics. I had a classmate who was doing cancer research in high school. So
interesting.
Very, very diverse.
Yeah, I think I know that Brown has one of the best bio programs also,
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. So the Brown's biology program, I think, is the largest. And then the second largest is its international relations program. And that sort of explains Brown's diversity in and of itself.
Yeah, I think Brown has its own reputation, right?
Right.
So, I remember the first time I heard of Brown, it was, sadly while watching the OC. So how did you first hear of Brown and, what made you apply there?
I think it's the same. I did first hear of Brown because of summer in the OC.
Yeah, there you go.
And a lot of my high school friends who were applying to Brown actually made the mistake of telling their interviewer that. So they said, we're applying to Brown because summer went to Brown, which is not the best reason, of course, to go to Brown. But yeah, what made me apply was the open curriculum, firstly. it's also rated, I think now it's slipped to like number 2 happiest college in America. But at the time when I was applying back in 2007, it was rated the number 1 happiest college in America. So that means Brown's a really happy, supportive place. So unlike the other Ivy Leagues, I think Brown is sort of more, laid back. It's more not laid back in the sense that they're not academically serious, but more laid back in that they give you the independence to sort of figure out like what your path can be. And it doesn't have to be a straight path. I think they're okay with it being meandering.
Awesome. So I know you focused on theatre and education at Brown, but what was like the most interesting class that you took?
I think the most interesting class that I took was a sociology class my freshman year. It was called Globalization and Social Conflict, with a professor who actually specializes in communism in Kerala and West Bengal.
Wow.
So, his name is Patrick Heller. Amazing professor. And he sort of really broke down whatever we think of society. And again, my freshman year, straight out of India, first class and it was an upperclassman class. So it was a more graduate level class, and there I am sitting in this big hall with 200 students basically being challenged.
And
I was a freshman, and I was just being challenged about everything that I thought to be true. And I think that is your typical Brown experience. You sort of go in with your set of notions and biases, and everything sort of breaks down.
Give me an example. What do you mean by like notions were broken down?
So, for example, I went in saying sort of like, being like completely pro-globalization, like this is the best thing that could happen to India, this is the best thing that could happen to the developing world. And they sort of, that's the first time that I, as a freshman, and I as an Indian sort of, figured out what the underside or the dark side of globalization is in a very, very real way. And I think that for me was really like life-changing. Not that I became a communist, but I did at least learn to sort of, think for myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. So outside of the academics, at Brown, I'm sure there's like so many other things. Obviously they're known for their political affiliations and all those other things. How did you spend your time at Brown?
Right. So, Brown has over 300 student clubs. So you can sort of, play frisbee. There's an intramural club sport that plays frisbee, which is what I did. You can get involved in theater. Brown has an amazing music program, has tons of amazing music programs. So there's a cappella. I was a part of a South Asian a cappella, so I used to sing a lot.
Wow.
There was cultural organizations that you can be a part of. When I was at Brown, I was a part of the Brown Daily Herald, which is the newspaper. So I did a bunch of reporting for them. I was also a part of the Brown Journal of World Affairs. So you sort of, under that you contact different researchers in the field of political science and basically solicit articles from them on, pressing issues of that time. So I was a part of that. I was a part of the Brown Refugee Training program, in which you actually go to downtown Providence and you teach refugees from Nepal, Syria, Iraq, and you sort of help them with English and math.
That's very cool.
So there are tons of ways that you can get involved with the community in Providence.
And you did all of this while you were studying?
While I was studying,
How did you ever manage to go to class?
There's a funny saying that they say that you can either, between sleep, eat, and I think socialize, you can choose only two.
Yeah.
And I chose to socialize, eat, and study rather than sleep. So I forego a lot. Yeah, I didn't sleep a lot in college.
Wow.
Let's just say that.
Wow, that's quite different from a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about the peer group at Brown? Like, what kind of kids go to Brown, and was it diverse? Was it very dimensional? And what kind of people did you meet?
Sure. Brown is a very international school. So unlike some other, I think 13% of Brown's student body actually is international. And I think one thing that really distinguishes Brown from a lot of other colleges, that it's a very supportive peer group. So right from my first week at Brown, I was actually a part of 3 different mentoring organizations. So there was the International Mentoring Program, which basically, teaches international students on how to culturally assimilate within an American college, which I think is very helpful. And secondly, there was an academic peer advisor. So they sort of help you, because the open curriculum can be daunting, right? Especially for a freshman. So the academic peer advisor's role is to really guide you and teach you how to navigate those choices as an 18-year-old. And the third was more of like a residential advisor in your dorm, and who, sort of had a lot of icebreakers and a lot of events to help you get to know other people who lived in and around you.
That's awesome. Okay, so we'll be right back after a short break, and we're still in conversation with Radhika.
Hi, I'm Amit Verma, the host of the weekly podcast The Seen and the Unseen. In my show, I examine the seen effects and the unintended consequences of public policy and private action. I show how policies meant to help the poor often end up hurting the poor. I've done episodes so far on demonetization, GST, surgical strikes, immigration and MRP. And I will continue my forensic assault on the truth in the weeks to come.
Catch the show every Monday on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you prefer. Or visit seenunseen.in for all the latest updates.
Welcome back. So Radhika, I think you were telling us a little bit about the open curriculum at Brown. So I would love to know just a few examples. When people say open curriculum, it sounds so ambiguous, Can you tell us a few examples of, how people use that open curriculum?
Right. So, for example, I went into Brown knowing that I love history and I love international relations, and that's what I want to sort of study, right? My freshman year, though, I took a neuroscience class, so Intro to Neuroscience 101. And I think after that, I just figured out that this is another field that I really, really love. So at Brown, by the end of 4 years, I had a bunch of neuroscience classes, a bunch of sociology classes, an archaeology class, and a lot of history classes. Something that I wouldn't have been able to explore had I gone to any other college. So the whole point of the open curriculum is that it really sort of, takes out the burden, and it really just encourages you to explore and go out there and take things without having to worry about, where am I going to get the right grade? Is this the right thing for me? So that's how Brown's open curriculum really helps you to really narrow down your interests.
Interesting. People talk a lot about rivalry with other Ivy League colleges and those kind of things. Is that something which actually does exist, or is it just something made up?
Only in the football games. And unfortunately, Brown's football team is not that great. But in the football games, it definitely comes out. I mean, that's one of the Brown traditions. You have to go and watch a football game when Brown's playing against one of the Ivy Leagues. I went and watched a Brown football match against Harvard. We lost. So that was rough.
So talking of traditions, what are some of the other Brown traditions which are like famous?
So another really famous tradition is the main gate is called the Van Wickle Gates, and they open only twice a year. So you cross once when you're a freshman, and then you cross once when you graduate. And it's said that if you ever cross in between when you're a junior or a senior, you're not going to graduate from college. Then there's also Pembroke College, which used to be a separate women's college before it sort of got integrated into Brown in the 1970s. And there's a seal on one of the stairs. And you'll always see all these Brown kids trying to avoid that seal and not stepping on that particular stair, because it says that if a woman steps on it, she's going to get pregnant. So they're just very, very funny traditions at Brown.
That's hilarious. So that's interesting. I think kind of stepping back to, our listeners in India and saying, okay, so we have a lot of aspiring kids who want to go to Brown, or a lot of aspiring parents who want their kids to go to Brown, right? What advice do you have for them? What should they start doing, to prepare for that?
I think the first thing that they definitely need to start doing is maintain their grades. I think if you don't have the grades in the SAT, a lot of, and why I stress on this is a lot of people say, oh, Brown's a hippie school, or Brown doesn't really care about your grades, but Brown does. You will always have academically bright students. So you can't sort of do all these varied extracurriculars and say that's going to compensate compensate for my grades, because it never is. It just simply isn't. So you need to get your grades and your standardized tests in order. Once that's in order, you sort of need to develop your extracurricular in a way that shows consistency and that also shows a particular depth. So you need to have that one hook that really gets you to college. And I think that could be anything, but it needs to be authentic and it needs to demonstrate a certain quality of leadership, curiosity, and just, I think, excellence more than anything else.
Yeah, I think Brown's group is really diverse, right? They let in like all different kinds of people, but as long as they're really consistently good.
Exactly. And as long as they've really pushed themselves to excellence in whatever field that they operate in.
Awesome. So tell us about the weather at Brown. I know it's supposed to be pretty cold, but how did you cope with that? And, was that a big issue for you?
It was in the beginning. It is very, very cold. It gets very cold in December. It gets,
how cold does it get?
It actually gets about -10, but -15 with the wind chill. Feels like -15 with the wind chill. But the good part, though, is that during the really cold months, you're back home. Because December is when it snows a lot and when it gets really cold, but that's also when winter break is going on. So when you go back, it sort of stays cold till about March, and then the weather starts to become good again. I think the only advice I would give to a lot of Indian students is when it's cold, try to not take 8 a.m. classes, because you're not going to end up going in that cold.
I would say whether that's in the winter or in the summer, don't take 8 a.m. classes.
That's true. Just don't take 8 a.m. classes.
Interesting. And what about the food and that sort of stuff? Were you able to cope with that? Was it easy to sort of get used to it?
So the funny thing is, before I went to Brown, I spoke to a lot of Brown alum who went to Brown in the 90s, and they said, oh, Providence is a dump, or Providence used to be a dump, and it's a really bad city. But somewhere in the mid-90s, there was this whole revitalization of Providence, and they sort of call it the Renaissance city of New England. So it's actually known for its food. So you have a very famous culinary school called Johnson & Wales at Providence. A lot of the graduates have opened up all sorts of restaurants. So Brown is situated on a sort of a college hill. So on the college hill, there are a bunch of restaurant options. So as a student, you're always, you're never sort of starved for choice. You have Korean food and Indian food and really all sorts of restaurants. And Brown's dining facility is actually really good. So we have 3 sort of main freshman dining halls. One of them is called the Ratty, and it has great food.
Awesome. So I guess you were never really homesick.
Not at all.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you want to tell our listeners about Brown, or anything which you want to share your experiences on?
Yeah, I think that, the most important thing that I learned at Brown was really just to challenge myself, whether it was in the classes I take or the kind of friends I make. Really push yourself out of your comfort zone. And I think another thing was also, of course, in the 4 years, you're going to spend a lot of time on the Brown campus, but it's really important to go outside and explore the community as well. And I think there's, with Providence is sort of like a student city with Johnson & Wales, RISD. So whoever, ends up going to Brown, I would just encourage them to think of those 4 years as an opportunity to explore that and to really sort of exploit all those options that are available to a student.
And for those who are thinking of Brown, work on the grades, right?
Right, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Radhika. It was really great chatting with you.
Thank you, Akhil.
And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in today. If you'd like to know more about us, please check out our website at www.oncourseglobal.com, or write in to us at info@oncourseglobal.com, or follow us on Facebook or Twitter.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcasts
to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.